So currently AMP-110 is going through the preclinical validation phase. We've been involved with a number of collaborations with Northwestern University and University of Texas Southwestern to really develop a preclinical validation package in looking at how this molecule functions within certain cell types as well as in a number of different animal models. So our goal this year is to complete our validation of the molecule in a number of these different systems, conduct toxicology studies, enter into GMP manufacturing to produce clinical material, and then beginning of next year, file what we call an IND, an investigational new drug, that will enable us to enter phase 1 clinical trials to determine the safety and efficacy of the molecule. Well, our focus at Amplimmune and being part of a startup young company, first and foremost, is really trying to accelerate science and to advance promising therapies into the clinic to ultimately meet areas of unmet medical need, and most importantly, in looking at new novel therapies to improve the quality of life for patients, and even looking at possible cures. The interesting thing about AMP-110 is that since it modulates the immune system, and the immune system naturally takes care of the body so well, what we're trying to do is rebalance it so that we could ultimately improve therapies for people, and in particular looking at, in the case of MS patients, not only minimizing remission, but relapses, but also potentially driving patients into remission so that they no longer see relapsing effects. Well, fast forward, the National MS Society has been very supportive of young companies. The program that Fast Forward has built and has applied to assisting young companies as well as young investigators, but more importantly, synergizing the efforts between academic research and young companies that want to translate the discoveries and findings from investigators to ultimately develop products is a key area that the National MS Society has been very supportive of and very focused on. So I think one of the things that the National MS Society brings is knowledge of the field. It brings access to a huge network of researchers, clinical investigators, companies, and really synergizes by bringing all those stakeholders together to not only look at new therapies, but also to accelerate and advance research in a manner that none of those groups could do independent of one another. Sure. I think for those individuals that believe they've got certain compounds that may have applications for MS drugs to improve the quality of life of patients, I would certainly recommend that they develop a relationship with Fast Forward as well as the National MS Society, whether it's for grant purposes or just information and knowledge purposes. The Society brings access to an enormous amount of information, a lot of history, an understanding of the disease and therapies, and it provides access to resources that a young company would never be able to obtain on its own. So I think our relationship with Fast Forward enabled us to integrate our interests and research with some of the key opinion leaders working in the field, as well as some of the clinicians that are focused on autoimmune diseases and neurological disorders. Well, I think Fast Forward's goals are very well aligned with young biotechnology companies. In today's financial environment, resources are very difficult to obtain, and most of the focus has been in later staged, further developed. So I think our relationship with Fast Forward enabled us to integrate our interests and research with some of the key opinion leaders working in the field, as well as some of the clinicians that are focused on autoimmune diseases and neurological disorders.